I used to think that consistency was the opposite of creativity, which means boring. But when you think about it and when you look closely at your daily or weekly life, patterns are everywhere. What if you started to use your ability to do this to your advantage? Hello, and welcome to the Connect podcast. This show is all about helping you connect to your soul's calling so you can take action on it. Because the sweetest success is a blend of discovering your purpose with the inner drive to bring it to life. I'm Sheila, health coach, lifestyle entrepreneur, and mom of two, best known for my online wellness programs, mentoring, and self-love passion. Listen in for inspiring interviews, solo chats, and Q&A sessions that will move you past overwhelm towards what lights you up. Stop accepting good enough and go for your version of great in your health, business, and relationships. Let's get started. Hi, welcome to this Monday mini-sode where I share an insight designed to help you live into what lights you up this week. And I am so lit up because this is my 200th episode. Welcome. If this is your first time listening, enjoy. And if you've been listening for a while, or even from the very start, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for listening regularly. I hope you found some encouragement in these shows and that my guests have inspired you to go for more in your one beautiful life. One thing that has been integral in airing 200 episodes is consistency. What comes up for you when you hear the word consistent? You may be yawning already. I got thinking about it as I approached this 200th episode and realized two things. One, consistency doesn't need to be boring. And two, I never would have reached this episode without it. I was always taught that routine and schedules were boring and that doing the same thing over and over again was hard to do. I also heard that the successful people who preached living a life of consistency were few and far between and that they were unicorns. People told me that people who have a desirable lifestyle are lucky. I don't know about you. These are some of the things I grew up with. But let me ask you, which one is it? Unicorn or lucky? It wasn't until I started questioning what I was told and I looked around me that I noticed so much of my life is repetitive already. Maybe these so-called unicorns have had an edge for so long because they've noticed this too. Perhaps it was the era I was born into, the early 70s, but jaded views of happy, successful people ran rampant, and it colored so many of my views about what was possible to achieve in life. As I've lived my own version of a happy, successful life, I've noticed a few things about being consistent, and I thought I would share some of them today. The first thing I want to share is it's easier when you have a clear picture of the reason why you're doing the thing you're doing consistently. Your vision can be a very powerful tool, and it can be as powerful as you imagine it to be. When I wanted to run a 5K race, I was very focused on getting up most mornings and running, even in the cold winter weather. The byproduct was how fantastic I felt physically and how clear my mind was. I also created something I could be proud of myself for. Nobody needed me to be running. It was totally my thing. And then later, when I started home educating my kids, I saw huge power in consistency in their development. While not every day was identical, having set containers to rest and play and eat and work, it really created a calm environment for learning. They love learning still as teens, and their information recall amazes me. Perhaps it's because of all of the practice and the consistency that they had in doing those things when they were younger. And if you look around at other children, you may see the same thing. It's pretty incredible to view. It wasn't until I started learning the intricacies of the central nervous system that I realized how much our brains are simply trying to keep us safe. Predictability is a master tool to create safety for us. When we feel safe, our body and our brain relaxes and more easily assimilates new information. Let me ask you something. Think about how much better you learn when you're laughing and having fun, right? Laughter is an incredible nervous system soother. And when you consider your health, think of how your body and brain function when you've shifted time zones. That's because you thrive on fairly similar sleep and wake times. But when you're traveling and they get all messed up, maybe your brain's not working as clearly as usual. The same is true for eating in similar eating windows and eating similar types of foods. While I love change, and I really believe it's integral in being vibrant humans, drastic changes can put us off kilter, even if for a short time. And that's why you hear of ways to prepare yourself for distant travel. Easing yourself into it is much kinder to your nervous system. When I started my blog and then later this Connect with Sheila Botelho podcast, I really learned a lot about consistency. The act of planning posts and episodes and scheduling recording moves me forward and really helps me feel grounded in my purpose. It reminds me of how we're all continually growing and changing. Topics that I cover and stories that I share from my journey help others, and I get to learn twice as I share in a mentoring capacity. It's amazing to me what comes up when I'm sharing something to help someone gain a deeper view on something, and then automatically through that process, something new is revealed to me at the same time. It's a beautiful thing. I used to think that consistency was actually the opposite, though, of creativity, which means boring. But when you think about it and when you look closely at your daily and weekly life, patterns are everywhere. We all have at least some. What if you started to use your ability to do this to your advantage, to follow a pattern, to have a pattern repeating in your life? Imagine what would happen if you got more intentional about what you did consistently. What kind of positive change would you see in your life? So let's think about this for a moment. What is something that you say to yourself, I wish I could do XYZ? Fill in the blank. What would that one thing be? It's really interesting because I'm sure a few things come up for you. And at the same time, some stories probably come up for you about why that's not possible for you. I only know this because of personal experience, and the same thing often happens to me. And then when we break it down, we can see we can maybe chip away at a new goal by doing a piece of something and starting to make a piece of that goal a consistent thing in our day and in our week. And if we put it on the calendar, that will make it actually happen in many cases. And if it doesn't, we can still have grace on ourselves because we're still making forward momentum by setting the intention and actually desiring to create this change. And if we take one step forward, 2 steps back, we're still making steps forward. And if we do that enough times, we will make progress. And then what we find is because of the consistent action of moving forward on that thing that we want to do, we will be so much further ahead than had we never started in the first place. What if you shifted what you thought about consistency? This is often the place to start. I've come to learn that we get so much more of what we focus on most. Your mind is powerful, love. Consistently doing one tiny thing could be just the thing to move you in the direction of a more satisfying life. So how are you feeling about the word consistency now? Is it still as boring, or is it something that could be really powerful for you? What is something that you actually want to put into practice now? And you don't want to wait anymore. You don't want to put it off. I invite you to sit with that, write it down, schedule it, and see what action you can take towards creating consistency around that thing. I imagine you could feel pretty great at the end of the year having made some progress. It is so true that human beings thrive on experiencing progress. Staying still can be very, very painful. Not moving into a new area of growth in our life and our thinking, in what we're learning, in connections with people, regardless of whether we consider ourselves introverts or extroverts, that feeling of stagnancy can start to spread into other areas of our lives as well. It's growth, it's action, it's movement that makes us feel good. Think about if you've ever needed to stay in bed for an extended period of time and you feel like, oh, I should feel so rested and I should feel so good. And later on as we move through our 40s and 50s, we start to feel like a little more stiff when we wake up in the morning. If we haven't moved a whole lot, it's because we need to move our bodies. We feel better when we're moving. And yes, we need rest, but we also need to move our bodies. And so finding something that feels really good to you, something that you're passionate about, something that challenges you, something that gets you excited and maybe even a little nervous and scared, like in a good way, not a dangerous way, but a way that is like just a little bit outside of your zone of comfort. Imagine taking a step in that direction and trying something you've thought you might want to do your whole life and see how you'd feel if you consistently moved towards that. I think you'd feel pretty lit up. That is my prayer for you, to feel lit up no matter what it is that you're doing. Because when you do that, you shine a light all around you, and you also give permission to others to shine their lights. As you continue through this week, I hope you know this. Being consistent doesn't have to be hard. You can ease into it. And it all starts with trusting yourself. Thank you for listening and for celebrating this 200th episode with me. I am so grateful for you. And I also wanted to share a quick note that because of the spacious way I planned my summer, I have room for 2 one-on-one clients. If you want to gain traction in your health or business goals, this container is designed for you. The framework includes 3 months of private coaching, 2 60-minute calls per month, Voxer support between sessions, and Voxer is an encrypted messaging app, and it's a way for me to stay in touch with you and to have it completely private. We cover anything from you moving to your next level, to integrating habits, to upholding boundaries in the area of your life or business that you most want to elevate. And we do it in a way that is celebratory, that is gracious, and that is open-hearted. And I love how this type of container supports you in being consistent, because there are consistent touch points for us to see where you're at, see how you're moving forward, see where you may be feeling stuck. And once you get to those places, you can actually get the movement forward that you want because you're not doing it alone. And my favorite part is always celebrating moving forward. I love it so much. So go to sheilabatello.com/apply to discuss details. You'll also see it linked in the show notes. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Big blessings. Thank you so much for being here with me on the Connect podcast. If you like this episode, please share it with someone you think would enjoy it. Also, if you head over to iTunes to leave a review, I'd be so grateful. Let us know what your favorite parts were and what you'd like to hear more of. It will help us have a greater impact, elevating many more people to grow and succeed together. See you next time.